Howdy, my name is Mackenzie Franklin from SideGame LLC here in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And this is Corn. She's going to be with us for this video today. So this is our 2021 look back at 2019. So it's a 2019 retrospective. The whole idea of this video is to look back at 2019 and see what games really stood the test of time and are actually my current best from that year. Now, for example, at the end of this last year, 2020, I put up my top 10 games of 2020. However, I did not get a chance to play all the games released in 2020. I don't think anybody did. And I also played a bunch of newer titles that had come out during that year's Essen that may have earned a spot on that list. These include things like Bonfire or Praga, things that were a little bit harder to get in the United States at that time. Now, I want to give all those games in 2019 their fair dues and make sure that they do get the attention they deserve, because 2019 was a pretty fantastic year for games. Now, before we begin, I do have one honorable mention before we start the list, and that is Wingspan. So I think that Wingspan is a pretty fantastic game. It's not the best game, though, and I don't think it's on that top 10 status. However, the recent Oceania expansion really does elevate this game. I think the ability to integrate those new boards and the fact you're not having to do the egg action all the time really lends to the success of this game as a whole. So this would be on the list if it had some of the parts from the Oceania expansion incorporated. But Wingspan is a good game, but not on my top 10 of 2019. With that being said, let's go ahead and start the list. So my number 10 on this list is Time Stories Revolutions, the Hadal project. Now, I'm a big fan of Time Stories in general. Obviously, some of the scenarios are pretty awful, but a lot of them are fantastic. And Hadal Project actually was pretty great. It is the first in the new series, the Revolution series. So this is the blue boxes. And the blue boxes here get rid of the dice and are now standalone games. However, this doesn't compromise the feel of the game, and I think they did a really good job with introducing it in this one. Now, this game in particular has you going underwater, and you are going to be doing a lot of cool, unique things. Obviously, this game has a lot of spoilers in it, so I can't really talk about it much there, but they introduce some very cool mechanics, including your own conversation deck. So you may have an interaction with somebody as your specific character that's completely different than somebody else's. And I think that's a fantastic new direction to take the Time Stories franchise. Now, in 2020, they released the next scenario, the Midsummer's Night, and I think that one was pretty awful. That was actually probably my least favorite out of all of them. Very unfortunate, because this introduced the system very well, but the one after is not that good. Once again, just my least favorite in general. It was all story, no gameplay, and no real puzzles. It was honestly just kind of a slog to get through, and you were playing through the motions. But Hadal Project actually has stuff that you are actively choosing. You are making decisions. You are solving puzzles. Great. I think this one is a fantastic number 10. So I really like the conversation card mechanics, and the new deck instead of dice is pretty cool. I like it. So number 9 is going to be Isle of Cats. This came out at the very end of 2019. Some people put it on their best of 2020 lists, but it is on Boardgames Inc. as a 2019 game. But this is a fantastic polyomino game. You have this boat, and you are laying these pieces on it, and there's a drafting mechanic that you're going to be using to get these cards. Now, this game is very cool. I really like that the game is freeform. There are certain ways to score points at the beginning of the game, but as you play, you are allowed, instead of drafting pieces, you're allowed to draft cards that will give you new ways to score. And I think that's fantastic. You get to change how the game plays for yourself and what your goals are. Really cool. Isle of Cats. I really like this one. Number 8 is going to be Imperial Settlers, Empires of the North. This is a very quick game where you have your own personalized deck, and you're going to be playing card after card, making little combos, and doing the best you can with your specific nation. I really like the uniqueness of every single nation. They're all very asymmetric, using different parts of the game's core mechanics. I think it's a really great design. They created this game, and each faction does something a little bit different in this world they created, and they're kind of abusing a certain mechanic in the game. I think that's very fantastic. The theme is great. The art is adorable. This is a winner. This is Imperial Settlers, Empires of the North. Number 7 is Pax Pamir 2nd Edition. Now, this is a very cool game set during the Great Game in Afghanistan. Your job is to, as a Afghani tribe, do your best to influence the different people around the areas. Now, you don't control any of these warring factions, but you have influence in them. You can bring soldiers for them. You can tell where their soldiers belong, but ultimately they're not yours. They are the countries that they belong to. So they're Afghani or Russian or British. You are an Afghani tribe, and you are trying your best to influence these guys, to leverage your position to ultimately win the game. I really like the shifting alliances that you can do, and how at the drop of a hat, you can shift your alliance with one nation to another. If somebody's got a really good combo going on for one nation, they've put out a bunch of soldiers, you can just become one of those guys now. Like, oh yeah, the Afghanis are doing great. I guess I'll be Afghani now. And now all of a sudden you're in the running for some points where you really weren't before. So it's really cool that you can switch like that. And this game is very interactive with everybody involved. So this is Pax Pamir 2nd Edition. Gorgeous printing. It has these fantastic resin cubes, wooden control markers, and these this cloth mat. This is a fantastic game and gorgeous game. My number 6 is Atlantis Rising 2nd Edition. One of the best co-op games to come out in a long time for a quick co-op activity. So it's a single one-shot. I like that there's no real big campaign attached to it, but this also plays a whole bunch of people. You can play up to 7 players very well. It's a simultaneous worker placement. You're going to be putting people on the board and then resolving all those actions in any order you choose. Atlantis is sinking, and your job is to prepare a way to escape Atlantis before the entire island sinks and, everybody dies. It's really cool, very tense, and you're trying to predict where to go on this island. So I think Atlantis Rising is great. It's beautiful. I think my favorite part has to be the library cards. There's these cards that allow you to break the game a little bit, and I think those are always fun. Just the ability to break the game is always fun. I really enjoy that. And that's Atlantis Rising number 6. My number 5 is Cloudspire. Cloudspire is a huge game, but it's also a beast to learn, I should say, but it really rewards you if you learn to play it. And it also is very helpful when you have one person that knows it and they are able to answer questions on the fly. It really takes some of the downtime out, and it makes it easier for new players to learn. This does give advantage to that person if they are playing, but ultimately I think it's a great way to really get into the game and get learning. So this game is just content after content after content. It's tower defense mixed with a MOBA style. You have these little heroes you control and you move around a map while you have these little minions that are charging to an opponent's fortress gate. It has many different ways to play. You have a solo mode, it has cooperative scenarios, it has 1v1, it has 2v2, it has 1v1v1v1v1, so free-for-all 4-player, free-for-all 3-player. I don't recommend the game at all at 3-player and free-for-all 4-player. I think that it honestly is kind of a mess and people can gang up on each other, but I really recommend the 2v2 team-based or the 1v1 scenarios, and the co-op and the solo scenarios are also fantastic. Each of the games is very different. You can pick multiple strategies using the same factions. I think this game is just solid all around. The production is fantastic. It's chip theory games, so a lot of poker chips for everything. You can get these miniature expansions. SideGames library has their copy painted, so we are very eager to teach this to people. It is a fantastic game. Very thinky, very cool though, and very beautiful. I think Cloudspire is a hit. I really love this game. My favorite part has to be the interacting with the board, the exploration. You send out your little heroes and they move around and they interact with pieces that start on the board, and if you clear them, it leaves way for you to build your spires, your giant towers. So very cool. I really like this game. Strongly recommend Cloudspire. Number 4 is going to be Barrage. Now I got this one late 2020, but it is fantastic. This one is a worker placement game where you are going to be trying to build dams. And these dams are going to be holding water, and you're going to use some power converters in order to turn them into energy. And it's a game about using the water to create energy. Now the really cool thing about this is it's very, very interactive. Everybody's playing on the same board, everybody's setting up dams on the board, and you can stop water wherever you want. You just got to pay for it. And then using that water, you will power up your energy plants, but the water just doesn't go away. It will continue flowing down from plant to plant, and it might end up in somebody else's dam. And you can do specific strategies where you are building one dam and guiding your water into your other dam, and it is really cool and pretty cutthroat at points. The actions are limited because of the worker placement, and my favorite thing about this is the more things you build, the more powers you unlock for yourself. And the powers in this game are really cool because they take this core concept of building dams and break it in an interesting way. I think this game is really well done, and I really recommend this one. This is Barrage. My number 3 has been on other lists. This is Cthulhu Death May Die. Now, Death May Die is a cooperative scenario-based game where you are going to be trying to stop a giant old one from destroying the world, essentially. A cult has succeeded in their ritual. You need to weaken the giant old one and then take him out. I love the leveling up system in this game. My favorite thing is when you go insane, you are going to level up a aspect of your character. You're going to activate a negative that can sometimes be twisted into a positive, which is really cool to strategize to make sure that works. And then if you go too insane, you'll die. But the more insane you go, the stronger you get. So I really like just going crazy and having a ball. Easy to roleplay in this game, easy to learn, easy to play, hard to win. Some of the scenarios are very challenging, and the pace of this game is so well done, and the leveling up just makes you really want to continue playing, try new characters. There's all sorts of people to use, and the scenarios themselves are all varied and awesome. So this is my number 3, Cthulhu Death May Die. My number 2 is Maracaibo. Now, Maracaibo has really solidified Alexander Pfister as one of my favorite designers. I'm a big fan of a lot of his things, but Maracaibo is, I think, my favorite one out of all the stuff he's made. In Maracaibo, you have a narrative deck that you're playing with, and this narrative tells about a story that's set in the Caribbean. And it has to do with plague and doctors and pirates and governors of Spain and all these things. And it's really fascinating how you can drop people in and bring new people into the campaign and just pick up from where you left off. It's very easy to just pick it up and keep going. I think that the campaign is really well done. But the game itself is, you are a mercenary in the Caribbean, and you can pretty much do whatever you want. You can go exploring, you can fight for the different nations that are occupying the Caribbeans, or you can just build your way around. You can hire people to work for you. It's a pretty cool game. I think it's really fun. There's a big deck of cards. It's always different each time you play, and you have your missions that you start out with. But I really like the combat in this game. Very similar to Pax Pamir, there are 3 nations that are occupying the Caribbean at the time, and you can fight for any of them. And once again, you don't own any of them, but you can support them. And the more you support them, the more influential you become with them, and the more points you can score from them. I think it's a really fantastic game. I love the narrative concept, and I love the legacy tiles that are introduced as you play. So Maracaibo is my favorite Euro game from this year for sure, and just fantastic. So very good. Number 2. I could not put this any lower. This has to be the number 1, and this is Marvel Champions. This is the most played game from 2019 from myself. Fantastic cooperative game. You are controlling a Marvel superhero, and you're saving the day. So I can't say enough praise about this game. You construct a deck beforehand, but the deck building is a lot easier than most deck construction games, because when you pick a hero, you have 15 cards that hero always uses. Then you pick an aspect, whether it be leadership or aggression or justice, and you pick cards from that color. And that's really it. You can pick some basic cards in too, but the big thing here is that you are going to easily be able to build a deck, and then it is scenario based. So you pick a villain you want to fight against, throw together his deck very quickly, and jump right into the action. There's no campaign attached. You can do that as an option, but it's not required. But the single scenario play is where it's at. You jump in, you have fun, and then it's over. And it's very easy to play it again. The system of play is very straightforward. And my favorite thing in this game is the identities. Each character has an identity that they can switch back and forth through. For example, in, Black Panther, on one side you have T'Challa, the Prince of Wakanda, or King of Wakanda, I should say. And he has an ability when he's on that side, and you can heal on that side, and the villain can't mess with you while you're on that side. But as soon as you're ready to go fight, you switch over to Black Panther, and now you can fight, you can thwart the enemy's plans, you can do whatever you want. And a lot of characters have really cool ways that they interact when they switch back and forth. For example, the She-Hulk, she has this really cool ability where she can basically deal damage to some person that you want, and then hit a big attack, and then when she switches back to her alter ego, she's a lawyer, so she can use a little bit of justice there and block some thwarting from the villain while she's in her alter ego mode. So I really like the switching of identities. One of the newer expansions from 2020, Ant-Man, really played into that one a lot, and I think he's one of my favorites because of that. And I just think Marvel Champions is here to stay. I don't see it going anywhere. I think it will become a staple for anybody that likes constructible card games. The cooperative format is very friendly to new people trying to play, and you can increase the difficulty as much as you'd like if you're looking for challenges. So my number one for 2019 is Marvel Champions. And that's my list. So as you can see, there are a ton of great games from 2019. So I really enjoyed that year in general in gaming. That is when our SideGame LLC business began. And I think that gaming is only going to go up from here. As of 2020 and the start of 2021, just more good stuff is coming out. The industry is not stopping. And I'm very excited to share more and more games with everybody. So, SideGame strong, y'all. See ya.